So we're ready to move on to the shoulders, and similar to how I approached everything else, we'll go ahead and just isolate these, turn on our make live here, and just get to the quad draw. Now with these, it's kind of interesting. We're going to start out similar to how we've done other structures with basically a center plane. We're going to have this split off into either direction to kind of form our cube-like structure. And if you recall, this is essentially how we model these, right? So this is the abstract base of a shoulder structure. We'll just add this in here, and we can add in some sub-Ds. So we can add in a center line here to make sure it maintains the volume. Now you do have to be careful with Maya because it is going to do the whole pick and front side, back side thing, and that's what it's doing there. If you do get that, the best thing to do is just kind of pop out here, go into vertex mode, turn on your X-ray so you can actually see where these vertices are, and basically drag them out towards the edge you want them to be snapping to, and that's going to give you the result you're looking for. Working broadly on very thin structures like this is a challenge when it comes to Maya. I'm going to fully admit that, so just kind of be mindful of that and ready to fight. Maya doesn't like to give you things for free all the time. All right, so let's come back into the quad draw here. Looks like I did not pull out that vertice, so back to the vertex mode, pull that out, and back to quad draw, and we can play around with these. Some things I want to do is kind of add in an edge loop for the roundness here, and basically just get this to where I like it, and then add in 2 lines here. So as minimal as possible, come in, smooth this out aggressively, and pull this into place. Once again, depending on your target platform, you can go more or less dense here. I'm kind of aiming for that middle-of-the-road RPG game, maybe PC, maybe mobile handheld type thing. I'm not going to go super dense here. Just get a nice clean look, right? So for those of you who are trying to learn this for your own game, just be mindful. If you're releasing on the latest console, maybe you can go completely ham and just have insanely high resolution stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to get something like that in place as much as possible, and consider connecting these across. Now, I do almost want to have a little bit more going into here, which is kind of weird. So we have this structure. What might be nice in this area is to break this off and actually triangulate it like so. So that way we get this nice corner. And you can see I just deleted that area and kind of filled it in so we can have some more vertices here. And I might even continue that over here, kind of splitting that a little bit more just to give me a little bit more structure there. Still maintaining my, my planar faces here, which is important, but basically setting me up to have the detail I need in that corner. And it'll be a repeat process over here, triangulating this and allowing us to have, a little bit more detail, which is our ultimate goal here. Like so. Pretty cool. All right, so with that in place, we can start pulling this up. I am going to give this a ledge, so I want to make sure that I'm nudging these down here to align with the ledge and not above it. Very easy to kind of have these slide onto those areas if you're not careful. So just kind of take your time, be patient with it in terms of aligning these. And then for this one, I will get a ledge, so that way we have something breaking the silhouette and giving these areas a little bit more of a look, and then continuing over the top. All right, so I think that's the last area there. And I usually like to start in the center points where possible that are going to kind of dictate the roundness the most. So just kind of pulling these up here. And remember, this doesn't have to be perfectly round. Our normal map is going to be doing a lot of work to kind of sell this, and just the general game stuff. It depends on the distance you're seeing this from, the platform it's going on, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times you have to test it in-game in context, and yeah, do a bit of back and forth until you have exactly what you're looking for. That area there might need a little bit extra to kind of sell the rounding. We'll see. And sometimes we do have to go back and forth after the UV and after the Bay can come in here and make these adjustments. So I do want to call that out now, which is something to be mindful of. I think I've mentioned this throughout the series, but you always want to be flexible with game art. It's very technical compared to a lot of other formats. Trying to balance the amount of information it has in terms of data load and appearance. And going back and forth with the art director. It's all part of the process. So definitely have to be flexible. So what I'm going to do now is just build out our ledge here and try and keep this evenly spaced. It looks like those are holding up nicely. We might need even more in those corner areas, but I think for now that's going to give me what I need. And we can just continue pushing this around the edges. And one of the things I hope you take away from the retopology demo is kind of that idea of the base functionality, the base form, finding those structures and then just kind of building them out. If you can understand that, it really helps with modeling, and it also helps with thinking about reduction and how to approach things for different outputs if you're going to mobile or something else. It's one thing I've noticed recently with the Switch in particular. There's a lot of games, older games in particular, that have been ported to the Switch, and it's kind of funny. They're very much just kind of quick money grabs. They don't have a lot of artistry in them in the regards that automated reduction tools are basically used on the models. And a lot of them have like really wonky face deformation, and it kind of detracts from the experience. But, a lot of these companies don't care. But I've also noticed a lot of artists these days don't understand these fundamentals as well that are working on some projects. So it's not always automated reduction causing the issue. So really kind of understanding these can help you with a lot of different formats, because I think most people are used to kind of developing as high as you can go, because, why not? But then when you get into these more restrictive environments, you really have to have a deeper understanding of the abstract forms. All right, so let's continue the lip around. With the shoulders here, I'm not going to be too specific. We kind of did them loosely here. The main thing I need to do is make sure, this, for example, isn't like falling into the oblivion of the base. And then, I'll probably do a lip for the interior, and then we'll just kind of tie those back as quickly as possible. And the thing is, we're not going to see most of this, right? The interior area. So really the most important thing is that we get around to this lip here. We use as many vertices on the outside as we can to kind of show this off. And then as we get inside of here, we start to think more conservatively how we're going to reduce this down and get this to be a reasonable amount of vertices and basically cheat a little bit. Wherever the camera doesn't see, that's where we make a mess of things. So just kind of be mindful of that as you're moving forward with your own character. If you're copying this character, making sure the Pauldrons have a similar setup, or if you're building a character of your own, identifying the areas that you can kind of do harsher reductions on to save on your vertex count. So it's kind of weird as this area is a little bit thinner, so we're kind of going thin to thick, but that's okay. So coming into here, I do have sort of this inner bevel, and I am going to capture this as kind of like my termination point. I don't know exactly how this is going to look. Remember, I didn't really model this out correctly before going to ZBrush, so I probably wouldn't have this normally, but as something for, the light and form to catch on to, I think this will be nice as we go towards our termination point on the interior. So something like that. And then as far as the termination point goes, it's very similar to what we've seen, right? So I'm going to take basically a base square here. We're going to take it like that, top and bottom, and then connect it like this. That's essentially what we're seeing. Make sure we maintain that center line in the off chance we want to use it for UVing, and just kind of connect these to their respective areas as much as possible. Now, this will start by adding a lot of geometry here. like so. I can come in here now and, you know, basically connect these across. I'm realizing I forgot over here. Too used to symmetry being turned on. So we can connect those across to the center lines, connect them to the next neighboring edges, here and here, and then start adding in, you know, additional edges to hold these forms. So this, for example, might have an edge here in the form of like a triangle. Here we can add an edge down and do the same thing here, you know, edge, triangle, and then connect an edge, and just kind of smooth these out in terms of their form. And then running down this way, we're going to get, you know, an additional edge here. We can connect interior to interior here. We can use a triangle to connect here, and a triangle to connect here, and then add a point here. Now, this very likely is too dense for an area that we don't need to see. And that's where the tricky part comes in now, is a lot of this we can just triangulate to points. So for example, I could connect there to there, there to there, there to there, and then basically keep this reduction going back. And I might use that as kind of my center anchor here, where all of these forms can anchor to this corner here. And that's going to kind of capture that and do a similar thing. So that's my anchor. We go ahead and just anchor these to that point. I'll just do that there. Actually, I think I needed that top one. Probably to go there, but something like that. And as I go here, it looks like this needs to anchor up. But something like that. We can pull these up here. And I don't think this was part of my initial bevel line, so we can pull these up. And this seems a bit extreme, but as long as we're kind of maintaining the silhouette there, you can see we don't really care. That's the trick with these interiors. So that kind of gives me, you know, a distinctive side area. I might even go as far as to pull this in here and even pull this towards the center point. I may wait though. You can see how we're kind of losing some of the volume there. So I'll keep that there for now, just kind of defining a, you know, side and a central volume on these shoulders. But since we don't see these areas, you know, we can definitely reduce these. And like I mentioned, some of this stuff I'm going to reduce after the bake, but that should give us a good look at the shoulders there. All right, so at this point, we're almost done with our character. The last thing I'm going to do is just kind of resolve the helmet, since we decided we're going to keep the head separate from the helmet. And that's just going to be a matter of kind of connecting the interior here on the helmet to make sure it's connected all the way. So let's go and take a look at that, and then we'll be done with our retopology. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can catch the next video in the series when it goes live.